Dustin May's upcoming elbow surgery threatens his Dodgers career, if not his baseball one. You should be skeptical of rumors involving Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford. And should we be concerned a little about UCLA football's recruiting? For real this time. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It is July 9th, 2023. It is Sunday. It's the Lord's Day. If you believe, as I do, take a moment. Thank God for the blessings that you have in your life. Like the new subscribers, we added a bunch of them yesterday. Thank you for getting in on the ground floor. And if you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And comment. Particularly the two gentlemen who won in the El Trafico kit giveaway. I named you guys last week. You've got to reach out to me so we can get you one guy, the LA Galaxy kit, and another guy, the LAFC kit. Now, before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. Mookie Betts hit his 10th home run this season that led off a game. It's his 26th home run overall, and the Dodgers go into the All-Star break with a 10-5 victory over the Angels. Anaheim Angels, thank you very little. The Galaxy defeated Philadelphia last night 3-1. It's a terrific victory for the blue, white, and gold. There's a rapid recap of the match on the Galaxy playlist. Ricky Pooge scores, Tyler Boyd scores. And by the way, I'm thinking of sharing this not completely hashed out idea on why the Galaxy are playing so well. Also, LAFC and San Jose tied 1-1. Dennis Bouanga converts a penalty kick to lift the black and gold into a draw. Meanwhile, today, the Sparks are playing at Phoenix at 3 o'clock. LA is in 4th in the Western Conference. But if the playoffs started today in the WNBA, the Sparks would be on the outside looking in. The WNBA playoffs is not the best 4 teams per conference. It's the teams with the top 8 records overall. The Sparks don't qualify. But let's go through the Dodgers for a moment here, because after all, it's the All-Star break. They're 51-38. They're just a half game behind Arizona. It is the 6th best record in Major League Baseball. And I bring that up because in addition to Dustin May, which we'll get to in a moment, there has been a profound sense of panic about this team because they haven't boat raced the division yet. We'll get to that in just a half second. The thing that impresses me about the Dodgers is that they've been able to do this with 3 rookie starting pitchers, Michael Grove, Emmett Sheehan, and Bobby Miller. And that got me to thinking, what happens when Dustin May returns from his 2nd elbow surgery in the span of 2 years? Right? He had Tommy John surgery last year, and then he comes back this year. He's starting to pitch. He's starting to feel good about himself. Now he has to have flexor tendon surgery. 2 surgeries to the same elbow. The best case scenario for him is that he is eligible to pitch midway through next year. So he's going to be gone for yet another entire calendar year. And again, you look back at the Dodgers rotation, and then you find yourself scratching your head going, wait a minute. Where does Dustin May fit? Where? Let's assume even if the weirdest case scenario for the Dodgers happens in the offseason, let's assume worst case, Clayton Kershaw retires. Let's assume Julio Urias and Scott Boras decide, no, we'll get a better offer from the Yankees or who knows who. Now you're still looking at 3 rookie starting pitchers who will have experience, but the Dodgers would still have options to automatically replace Dustin May. Walker Buehler comes to mind. What about the Dodgers AA team in Tulsa, Oklahoma? Just a couple of weeks ago, there were scouts, there were coaches saying that everybody on the Tulsa, Oklahoma starting staff, they have a 6-man rotation down there. That's how deep they are. And according to the scouts, all 6 of them, including Sheehan, should become Major League starters. Not necessarily aces, but starters. So there's so many options out there. And I haven't even mentioned Tony Gonsolin yet. Or Ryan Pepio. Where does Dustin May fit? Now, there's a Dodgers blogger out there, and he believes that Dustin May's future is in the bullpen to try to keep him from getting injured. Now, I don't think that's the case, because I think you do put more stress on your pitching arm as a reliever. For Pete's sakes, the Dodgers have 10 pitchers on the IL right now. They're not all starters. A lot of them are relievers. So I don't necessarily think that that preserves Dustin May's arm at all. But assume that he still wants to start when he comes back. Where does he go? You tell me. Now, as for the Dodgers themselves, the panic over that team reminds us all of that cliche argument about a glass half full or half empty. And I can appreciate those who look at it as half empty. Why haven't the Dodgers crushed the division like they always do? The bullpen? The bullpen's been gross for a good chunk of the year. And I already mentioned the 10 pitchers on the injured list, not to mention shortstop Gavin Lux hasn't played since he blasted out his knee in spring training. But is the panic overblown, considering the fact that the Dodgers are already back to within a half game of first? That's one. And number two, it was fashionable just a couple of weeks ago to say that the luster, I should say, haven't seen my wife. Yes, there's some lust. The luster on the Dodgers program is kind of faded a little bit. Just a couple of weeks ago, Orange County Register columnist Jim Alexander claimed that the Angels, not the Dodgers, were the more complete team. Oh, really? The Dodgers have beaten the Angels now 10 consecutive times, including all 4 games in the Freeway Series this year. So I don't necessarily think it is time to panic. I recognize that it is a flawed baseball team. But Freddie Freeman told the Los Angeles Times that the way this team has been playing now is the way that he envisioned it in spring training. That specifically Mookie Betts has found something in his swing that just makes home run after home run just fly off the bat. Now, Max Muncy, who also has over 20 home runs, isn't of that opinion yet. He thinks the team's best baseball is yet to come. Now, for his part, Dave Roberts is saying that the club, this year's club, unlike recent Dodger teams, is playing with a sense of urgency. See, the other teams are just so talented, they could just basically sleepwalk their way to 100-plus wins. This team knows that they have to put in the effort. And that's the difference that I think makes the Dodgers, frankly, worth watching. Even though it's not always going to be the same automatic W that we've been used to seeing in the regular season. There has been a lot of attention to a report that came out recently where a former Cleveland Browns GM, Michael Lombardi, claimed that the Rams have been trying really, really hard to trade quarterback Matthew Stafford because they wanted to do it up until his contract bonus kicked in. See, after winning the Super Bowl, LA rewarded Stafford with a 4-year, $160 million contract. And I'm here to tell you, I don't buy this story for a second. Now, look, if somebody came up to the Rams and said, we want Matthew Stafford and we're going to give you a ton of amazing picks, like the same, pretty much the same thing you guys gave up for Jared Goff, or maybe just a little less, then yeah, if you're the Rams, maybe you listen in on something like that because you're getting super duper young now. But honestly, no, I don't think that there was a fire sale to get rid of the quarterback. And here are the reasons why. One, Matthew Stafford's extension ties him for 9th in terms of priciest quarterback contracts. He's not even close to the 50+ million that you're seeing being handed out to the younger quarterbacks these days. And by the way, Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert have not signed new contracts, would put both of them over Stafford as well, which would mean Stafford would be tied for the 11th most expensive quarterback contract. That's mid now. That is mid. So that, by the way, that $40 million a year, it ties him with Dak Prescott and Daniel Jones. So again, quarterbacks who are pretty good, I think Matthew Stafford is way better than Daniel Jones, probably better than Dak Prescott. But again, $40 million for a legit, high-quality starting quarterback? That's not that bad in the NFL these days. And I would tell you one other reason why I do not believe that the Rams were actively looking to get rid of Matthew Stafford. Sean McVay. Sean McVay, why did Sean McVay get so worked up toward the end of last year? Why were there rumors that Sean McVay needed time to himself to consider whether or not he would come back? Is it not because he didn't have Matthew Stafford anymore? Is it because that he had to put out John Wolford, Bryce Perkins out there? Why do you think he was so happy to see Baker Mayfield? At least Baker Mayfield had legit experience as a starting quarterback, right? If Matthew Stafford was traded, you could make a fair argument that Sean McVay says, I can't deal with this. I can't hang. I got to go. And the Rams desperately wanted to keep Sean McVay. So no, I don't buy this. I don't buy that they were looking to get rid of Matthew Stafford. And besides that, if you have been reading about the Rams as extensively as I have, the scouts, the talent evaluators, they are all split as to the potential of this Rams team. Half of them say the Rams are just going to flat out suck. And another half is saying, wait a second, they have something here with some of these young players coming in and some of the second and third year players that they already have. Not that they're going to contend for a Super Bowl, but contend for a playoff spot. Now, if you have a team that's going to contend for a playoff spot, are you going to get rid of your franchise quarterback? Hell no, you're not. So stop it. Stop it. Are the Bruins falling further behind in college football recruiting now that they're about to move to the Big Ten? The move becomes effective in time for the 2024 season. So talent evaluators have gone through all of the Big Ten teams for 2024, and UCLA's recruiting class for that year, which has only one 4-star player, ranks 15th out of 16 teams. The only team with a worse recruiting class for 2024 is Indiana. UCLA, by the way, they do have 9 recruits overall, but again, only one of them labeled as a 4-star recruit. I've really wanted to get this out of my system. It's not completely formed out. Maybe you guys can help me. Do you have a micromanager at your job? The type of person who's always hovering over, trying to watch while you type and telling you where a comma doesn't belong. And, oh, you know, like on the movie Office Space, the guy who is always telling you, yeah, if you could do this for me, that would be great. That guy. That particular character, the guy who's always watching over what you do, what all your coworkers do, and they're basically the backseat drivers of your job. Is it possible that Chris Klein was the backseat driver, the micromanager who slowed down the production of the LA Galaxy? Because that's what micromanagers do, because they're constantly nitpicking everything you do, and it slows down your production on the job. And it makes your time with that company profoundly unhappy. We've all had micromanagers. If you look at the way the Galaxy was constructed in terms of the front office, everything ran through Chris Klein. Everything. The player personnel ran through Chris Klein. The money ran through Chris Klein. Everybody was under the impression that the Rose Bowl game that happened last week was because of Chris Klein. Chris Klein also had to go, apparently put his 2 cents in to bring the World Cup to Los Angeles. Anybody could have brought the World Cup to Los Angeles. Why was Chris Klein involved in it? Is it possible that Chris Klein had his hands in so many pies that things for the Galaxy started to slow down because every single thing had to be approved by Chris Klein? Is that possible? Maybe if Chris Klein had given up some of his power and not have every single thing come through him. Why was it when Greg Vanney had to face the media right before Chris Klein got let go? Why was it Chris Klein that had to basically stand at the side of the podium and basically usher Greg Vanney away? Why? Is he not micromanaging Greg Vanney? Or was he not, I should say, micromanaging Greg Vanney. Those sort of things extend to the field. Absolutely. Think about the Oakland Raiders. Al Davis was known as somebody who would openly call the bench and question and cuss out his coaching staff for bad play calling and suggest plays. You don't think that slowed the Raiders down? I'm not saying that Chris Klein did that with Greg Vanney during the match, but can you imagine that happening during practice, during setting up the formations, etc.? I'm not saying it happened. I'm saying it sure leads to why the Galaxy are playing much more free-spirited right now. They're playing with reckless abandon, and yet they are still following what the coach wants. They're playing with freedom. You tell me if I'm wrong. It's just a guess. The Athletic took a look at the Kings, and they think LA has addressed every need in the offseason. Now, it is true that a lot of us, myself included, think their main question mark is goalie. But the Athletic says, no, the Kings have 3 goalies with NHL experience to which they can pull on. No, the Kings' big question mark right now is the third pairing on defense, according to them. For example, can Tobias Bjornfoot make the NHL roster? If you recall, he spent almost his entire year last year in Ontario. And finally, does Brent Clark or Jordan Spence get the opposing slot in the third defensive pairing? Maybe that is the big problem, and I'm just not smart enough to know. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Let me know what you think about Dustin May or UCLA recruiting or the Galaxy playing freer now because they no longer are being micromanaged. And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos because we talk LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Can Corte El Queso production. Take care.